All right, I'm Justin Bryant with Hudson Incorporated. We're out this morning behind a John Deere 1790 planter. What we're going to talk about in this video are closing wheels, closing systems, and kind of what to check for when you're out in the field, making sure your trench is getting closed up. So first of all, kind of three objectives of a closing system and closing wheels. The way I see it anyways is first, obviously, we want to close the trench. Second of all, we want to make sure we're firm, get everything firmed up around the seed, push any air pockets out to make sure there's good seed to soil contact around every seed. And finally, a big one that we may not think about a lot of times is breaking that sidewall or crumbling that sidewall, however you want to say it, if you need to. So those are the three big ones that come to mind when I think about closing a trench. And there's several different closing wheels and configurations that can be used to kind of accomplish those three goals. So these right here on the back of this planter are the standard rubber that we see on a lot of planters. And something I failed to mention, the condition that you're planting into also plays a huge role on what kind of closing wheels you're probably going to need. So whether it's no-till, work ground, so these rubber ones are typically, I mentioned firming, these typically do a pretty good job in work ground where it doesn't take a whole lot of pressure to get that closed back, but we do want to get firmed up around the seed. So these will push pretty good and get everything firmed up good around the seed. Probably not going to do as good a job in a no-till type situation. Maybe it's a little heavy, hadn't been worked at all, something like that. And then you've got the spikes that we've all seen, like a Martin spike that you see on this row cleaner here. This is the same spike wheel that could be used for a closing wheel. And those are going to be, minus the depth band there, those are going to be used and do usually a little bit better job in a condition like a no-till or something like that, where maybe it's a little tougher and you need to get it closed up or get that sidewall kind of crumbled or broken up a little bit. So these aren't going to do a whole lot of firming. The ground's already pretty firm here, so our main goal with these is getting it closed back and getting that sidewall crumbled. And then you've got some like this that I kind of look at and think, they're kind of a hybrid of the rubber and the spike. So they're pretty heavy. These are metal or cast, and they've got a little bit of a spike there, about 1.25 inch spike. So they're going to do a good job. They really work well in most conditions, whether it's work ground or no-till. So they're heavy, so they're going to do a good job of firming back around the seed and closing that trench, and they've also got these little spikes, so they're going to break up that sidewall a little bit as well. Okay, so as far as setting the tension on this spring back here, this T-handle right here is where you do it. You've got 4 different settings here, and again, it kind of depends on the conditions you're planting into, whether it's worked or no-till, dry or wet. So right here is where you do that, and it can also, the downforce that you have on your gauge wheels can also kind of play into that as well. If you've got too much downforce and you're pushing this down and compacting this pretty good right here, you're going to need more closing pressure to close that. Ideally, you'd want to back off on your downforce so you don't have to face that, but keep that in mind as well. So obviously, in work ground, you're probably not going to need as much tension. Have ran these heavier type closing wheels with no tension at all. They're heavy enough to kind of hold it down in work ground. That's true for any kind of cast or any kind of heavy closing wheel like these. But most of the time in our conditions, we can get away either in that first or second notch. So that's where things to keep in mind when you're setting that, and things to look for or keep in mind while you're doing that. Well, here's a spot where it's obviously not closed up. These are easy to see when you're just walking through the field. So you can see here, we obviously aren't closed up here. So, and again, you know, we're not in the best conditions this morning, but just wanted to show you an example of what we definitely do not want. We're gonna dig a spot that looks a little bit better closed and dig down and show you what to look for there as well. Okay, so here's an example of where we looked like we were closed up on top of the ground, but once you get in there and start digging down around to where that seed's gonna be, you can see where we didn't get closed up down there around the seed. So probably either need to wait till drier conditions so we can get this closed up better, or get another notch on our closing wheels to try to firm up down there around where the seed's gonna be. Okay, so once you get to the field, you wanna make sure before you get to the field, you try to get your closing tail here lined up as close as you can, so you don't have a wheel running in the trench. But once you get to the field, it seems like there's always one or two that'll kind of tweak a little bit or get off once you put it in the ground and run it for a little bit. So again, once you get to the field and get it put in the ground, you may want to leave it down and walk behind each row and make sure everything's still kind of lined up. Make any adjustments there if you need to.